Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So I frequently get the question on how to set up a spinning reel for beginners. Now you may be brand new to fishing and you're confused. Maybe you just don't know where to start. I mean, it really can be inundating getting into a new sport. And then of course, when you walk into all the tackle stores, it can be very overwhelming. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to do this. Now with the reel that I'm going to be using for my demonstration, it actually is braid ready. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But what I like to do is put a little bit of backing on. What this is going to do, the backing is going to stretch onto the spool, but it's also going to help fill up your spool a little bit so you're not overspending an expensive braid. Because the reality is you're most likely never going to get down to the core of your spool unless you're being spooled by a large fish. And we'll discuss that a little more, but let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about and how to connect this backing to your spool. You can remove the spool off of the reel, and this is going to help you tie your knot. Now I'm not going to show you the knot demonstration. I have a whole playlist with a slew of knots. I'll leave that link up in the right hand corner and also down in the description. Now bear in mind guys that a lot of reels now are braid ready, so you don't necessarily have to put backing on. And what does that mean exactly? Well, if back in the day, you would tie your braid directly to the spool. Well, the spool is slick. You'll see that this middle line has texture on it. What this texture does is it allows the braid to catch on this line, preventing it from slipping. So in other words, your drag will not function properly back in the day if it went onto this slick spool, because all of the line would rotate when you pulled on it. So all the line that you spool up would just turn on the spool, would not give any resistance and allow the drag to work properly. And that's not what you want. So you could technically tie directly to braid, you could tie braid directly to this spool, or you could put some backing on it. The reason we're putting backing on it this morning is because we don't want to spend a fortune in braid that will never see the daylight. So I'm going to put some backing on it and then spool it up with 150 yards of 10-pound test braid. Now how I'm going to connect this particular backing is with an improved clinch knot, nothing special, or you can use an arbor knot. Go ahead and wrap your line around the spool. I'm going to make 6 to 7 wraps around my main line, run the line back through the hole, and then through this hole again. Now if you want a tutorial on the improved clinch knot, just look at it on my playlist. Now what you want to do is moisten that knot. Go ahead and pull down, pushing that knot onto the spool just like you see there. You trim the tag, and when I say tag guys, it's just the leftover part of the leader that's hanging there. All right, use your little trusty Danko scissors, trim your tag close, and now we're going to put the spool back onto the reel. It's good to get familiar with some of the fundamentals, or the parts of the reel, so you know what I'm talking about. Now this is called the spool. This is what the line goes on to. This is called your bail arm. This is what allows the line, when you're casting, you flip this bail open and it allows the line to come off the reel. So what we want to do is keep this open just like this, and then go ahead and put your spool back onto the reel. So now you have your drag knob. Go ahead and put your drag knob on the top here. Ultimately, this is how you tighten your drag, by turning it clockwise. So the tighter it is, the more tension you'll have, so the fish can't pull as much line. Now it's not always good to have a tight line or a tight drag guys. You want to, once you get familiar with fishing, you're going to find that you want to have drag when fishing, typically unless you're in a combat fishing setting. And when I say combat, I mean when you're around structure or trees and you really got to try to pull them from structure. Because usually if you give them too much and you allow them to take a lot of drag near structure, they're going to cut you off. So that's what I'm referring to when I say that. So go ahead and flip your bail down. Now you'll see that you could technically reel this line up onto your spool. Now when you're doing this, you want to make sure you have tension, a lot of tension, and the tension will make sure that this line is seated on the spool properly. Go ahead and start reeling on some of your backing. I'm holding tension and letting the line run through my fingers. Now this may burn, so you may want to use gloves if you don't want to get line burn. I'm familiar and used to it, so I know you know, the amount of pressure that I need to stop. So as you can see here, I lightly just cover the spool. And what this does, like I said, it helps fill up the spool a little bit, but it also makes sure there's no slippage with that braid. Use your Danko scissors again, make a little cut. Now we're gonna be attaching our braid to our backing using the uni knot, one of my favorite knots of all time. So loosen your drag, and that's when the line comes off the spool fairly easily. Now what you want to do is run the line through the guides of your rods. Now these are called guides if you're not familiar. And run them through each of your guides. Make sure you hold the line with your other hand, because if not, it'll want to come right back through here and you'll have to do it all over again. So at this point, you can see that we've pulled our backing through all of our guides. Now we're going to attach this line to our braid using a uni knot. And I'll show you what braid I'm going to be using. So here's some 10-pound tests, 150 yards of Yozuri Super Braid. Now this stuff I like, it's because it's very, very thin, but it's also really smooth. I can get really, really long casts with this braid. So I noticed, like, I'm a big fan of Power Pro, but Power Pro has a texture. And I noticed that this stuff is a lot thinner and doesn't have as much texture, therefore I get longer casts, and it's a really good option when you're throwing artificial lures. So again, this ain't a knot tutorial, but what you want to do is tie the uni knot, guys. I have a video on this. You can definitely see that, and it'll show you exactly how to do this and attach the line. So this knot, why I like it, guys, is it'll go through the guides very easily. This is also the same knot that I attach my leader line. So again, it's a knot that you want to learn. And I know there's 1,000 different fishing knots on the web, guys. You only need 2 or 3 to be successful. You get good at 2 or 3, and that's all you'll need. You don't need to know 75 different knots. I know there's fanatics out there that say you do, but I promise you, you don't. All right, once you get that uni knot tied, you pull it together, and what it does is both knots stop with each other, and then it's a super, super strong knot. It never fails, just really good stuff. Trim your tags, of course. Now again, you should never ever be down this far, you know, in your backing. If you are, you got a big one on. So at this point on, we're gonna go ahead and reel on our braid. Now you do gotta be careful with this. This braid is sharp. It could cut you if you hold it too tight, especially when you start going really fast. But you do wanna make sure that it's firm and it's strong. That way you're not, you know, you don't want to put this braid on loosely, because you're going to have a lot of problems with wind knots and things like that. So one thing that you don't want to do is overspool your reel. If you overspool your reel, you're going to have wind knots. You're going to hate fishing. On the spool, there's a little indicator on the lip here. You want to make sure that you're not overfilling it past that indicator. In some instances, they say less is more. This is one of those times. Trust me, you'll save yourself a lot of headache. Take off about a couple feet of that 25-pound test. And again, the uni knot, baby, the uni knot. Trim them close too. That's what's beautiful about this knot, is you could do that and this knot will not fail. Now it's time for either a lure, your hook of choice. For this particular outfit, I'm gonna do a lure. Got me a little Mission Fishing jig head. Been using these for years. And again, right back to that improved clench knot. I put it through the eyelet of the hook, wrap 6 to 7 times, put it through the hole, back through the hole, use a little saliva, cinch it down. That easy. Trim your tags. Now I got this little power bait. You can rig this up a few different ways, but I like using them on a jig head. The way I do this is just like so. Put the hook through the top of the bait. Right as it starts to curve, pull the hook through the back of the bait, push it down onto the barb, the hook keeper, or the bait keeper, and it should look something like that. Hey, and that's all there is to it, guys, on how to set up your saltwater spinning reel. It's a fairly simple task. I know it may seem daunting, but really, guys, once you do it a couple times, you'll feel a lot more familiar. I hope this video helps you. If you really want to help us out and you want to beat those weird AI videos and prevent them from showing up in the algorithm or on the first page of YouTube, you want real people doing real things, make sure you give a thumbs up, share, and comment. That interaction really helps us. And until next time, guys, I'll see you on the water.